Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and salam Ramadan. Professor Dr. Hairuddin bin Muhammad Ali, group members and fellow teachers. Today, Group 1 will be presenting our group work with the title Strategic Analysis. Now, I would like to introduce our group members. First, Brother Muhammad Azwan bin Muslim, our group leader. Next, Sister Madiyah Hayati binti Abdul Rahman, Sister Mislina binti Ahmad, Sister Nurul Akmal binti Baharuddin, and lastly, I am Hafsham Nur bin Abdul Hamid. As the first group presenter today, we will discuss and explain on the topic strategic analysis based on these contents. We will start with the introduction. Next, pre-planning analysis. After that, situational and environmental analysis, PASTO, followed by SWOT analysis, and then other methods of analysis. After that, we will conclude with summary. The objectives of our presentation today are to explain the definition and the importance of pre-planning analysis, to explore, understand, and make comparison between the situational and environmental analysis, PESTO, to explore and understand the importance of SWOT analysis, and lastly, to discuss and explain the other methods of analysis. I am Harsham Noor bin Abdul Hamid, and as the first presenter for Group 1, I will talk about and introduce to you what is strategic analysis and why it is crucial for an organization to implement the strategic analysis process as a tool in a decision making. So, what is strategic analysis? Strategic analysis, according Bouchard and Mitsis 2021, is the process of researching and analyzing the environment an organization operates in and the organization itself to inform the strategy formulation process. It is safe to say that strategic analysis refers to an evaluation of an organization's work environment. This work environment generally defines how the organization operates its business. Strategic analysis helps to determine the good functioning of the organization and whether goals and objectives set by the organization can be met. Strategic analysis is advised by many experts in an organization to be conducted from time to time through which the working of an organization can be determined and the areas of the business that need changes and enhancements can be pointed out. The environment of an organization is separated into two components, the internal environment and the external environment. The internal environment looks inwards at the organization and assesses the elements that make up the internal environment, while the external environment looks at an organization's environment and how those factors currently impact or could impact the organization. Both components should be scrutinized to identify factors influencing organizations and guiding decision-making. The analysis phase sets the stage for an organizational strategy formulation. The strategic analysis informs an organization's activities in strategic formulation and allows the organization to make informed decisions. If a strategy is a plan to deal with a specific challenge, then a big part of its development is the framing of the challenge. At the very least, the right framing can improve the leaders or management team's understanding of its competitors and, at its best, revolutionize an industry.
I am Muhammad Azwan bin Muslim. I will explaining about pre-planning analysis. Organization can represent such chunk of ice. There are two in the organization which are visible or tangible aspects, which are strategies, objective, policies, procedures, structures, technology, and formal authorities. While hidden aspects are attitude, perception, group norms, formal interaction, conflict, interpersonal, and group conflict. Only tangible aspect can be known and the rest hidden. Humanity is the greatest challenge in planning. These questions are some of the questions that need to be answered for planning preparation or planning for planning. The question of manager may: do the staff want to accept the change? Are they ready to change? Do they reject any change effort to be made? This matter will be answered through the first phase stage of strategic planning, which are pre-planning. Next, definition and explanation. Pre-planning is the stage of strategic planning that focuses on making decisions about where the school direction based on the student needs, requirement, curriculum, and any other influences that may be at work in school. Pre-planning, or the planning you do before undertaking any endeavor, is critical process. Pre-planning the business you hope to start will lead you building a better company in the long run. According to Bryston, 2003, the first step of strategic leader should be to strive to gain understanding with the team, internal and external, in relation to the overall strategic planning, the framework of the schedule, and the division of important tasks. While Doherty, 1998, mentioned the construction of strategic planning should begin with pre-planning. According to him, the construction of strategic planning should begin with such activities: trying to book the commitment of all staff, identify a tank team, identify champion to be project quality manager, make a diagnostic and analysis of the success or failure of the change agenda, identifying a consultant, take into account the cost of planning and implementing strategic planning, take into account other resources involved such as time, environment, and procedures. Strive to identify the perception, views, and desires of the staff. Try to create a review outside the organization to be used as a benchmark. According to Allison and Carey, 1997, an organizational needs to do 60 before building a strategic plan. Identifying specific issues with strategic planning approaches. Checking the organization whether it is ready to plan. Identify the team and clarify the role and duties of each. Build an organizational profile. Provide a framework. These questions need to be answered for the pre-planning stage of planning or planning for planning. Important and rationale of pre-planning. Number one, pre-planning facilitates better allocation of resources. Number two, pre-planning helps you to focus, prioritize tasks by deciding beforehand what's important. Three, pre-planning beforehand will lead your organization to succeed. The right goal will challenge everyone in the company to perform better. It mitigates risk and uncertainty. help you predict possible risks, scenarios, and develop strategies. Fifth, it sets the stage for teamwork. In this process, employees learn their role and responsibility, understand the contribution they can make collaboratively, also learn how meaningful their work is and be motivated by that to perform better. Six, pre-planning allows for the discovery of more effective strategies. Seventh, pre-planning encourages you to think creatively. And eight, pre-planning lays the groundwork for your organization. Activities involved in pre-planning stage: review staff willingness, establishment a team or committee that sets policy and direction, limits or scope of work, activities and date of setting feedback, establishment of monitoring teams, selection or appointment a specialist or consultant if necessary, and multi-level commitment to start planning. In addition, preliminary details of strategic planning should be provided. Strategic planning period, what issue to solve, who is chosen as the mover, who are the individuals who need to be involved in strategic planning, who are the individuals who need to be involved to do the review, how long does it take to do a strategic plan, do we need expertise to do strategic planning, consider also the cost, how long does it take to prepare a strategic plan. We can convert the activities as a checklist in applying pre-planning in real strategic planning so that planning process is more structured.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. I am Ms. Lila Meti Ahmad. I would like to continue the presentation under the topic Situational and Environmental Analysis or PESTEL. Here the list of the discussion. First, we are going to discuss the definition of situational analysis. In strategic management, according to Adele Clark et al. 2015, the situational analysis is the starting point for developing strategy. Situational analysis refers to a collection of methods that managers use to analyze an organization's internal and external environment to understand the organization's capabilities. In education, a situational analysis is an authentic assessment used to inform the school's improvement journey in learning, teaching, and leading. An assessment of strengths and weakness of organization. Methods of assessment using SWOT analysis, 5C analysis, and Porter's 5 forces. Meanwhile, the environmental analysis regarding Fiedler 2002 in strategic management for schools improvement is a strategy analysis tool to identify all of the external factors that affect an organization performance in macro environment. Assessment of opportunities and threats of organization. Method of analysis is using the PESTEL, which are politics, economy, social, technology, environment, and legal. There are comparisons between situational and environmental analysis. First, from the definition, situational analysis is an analysis an organization's internal and external environment to understand the organization's capabilities, while environmental analysis is a strategy analysis tool to identify of all the external factors that affect an organization's performance. Situational analysis in a microenvironment, while environmental analysis in macro environment. Assessment of strengths and weakness of organization, while environmental analysis assessment of opportunities and threats of organization. Method analysis with situational analysis using SWOT, 5C analysis, and Porter's 5 forces analysis, while environmental analysis using PESTEL, which are politics, economy, social, technology, environment, and legal. Now we go through to the definition of PESTEL. What is PESTEL? A PESTEL in environmental analysis is a framework to analyze the macro environmental or external environment factors that have an impact on an organization. In education, PESTEL aims to examine how the global education industry is influenced by several power factors. PESTEL analysis can be used as part of identifying the opportunities and threats. PESTEL analysis can assist an organization for identifying current or possible future challenges. PESTEL in education, according to Campbell and Craig 2005, refers to P. Politic. Organization must act within legal and regulatory conditions set by the political institution. E. Economical factors such as inflation, interest rates, education expenses can affect educational institution. As social and demographic factors' importance are linked both to the demand and supply sides of the organization. T is technology has dramatically changed the education industry globally. Students have easy access to information and other resources online in their teaching and learning process. E. Environment analysis examines the natural environment to generate information on pollution and government regulation on protection of natural resources. And the last L, legal. Environment includes the laws and regulation of a country. What is the importance of PESTEL? Number one, PESTEL used to identify opportunities and threats. Number two, to understand the organizational environment. Number three, it enables the organization use data in the strategic direction and formulate goals. Number four, to identify critical factors and forces, formulate action plan, and develop goals. Number five, it generates information for the organization for improved performance. And last, number six, the tools allows the assessing of the current environment and potential changes. How PESTEL in essence? Number one, identifying. The organization identify the effective factors for sustainable it in the market. Number two, scanning. It implies the process of critically examining the factors that highly influence the organization. Number three, analyzing. A careful analysis of all the environmental factors is made to determine their effect on difference. And number four, forecasting. Lastly, the impact of the variables is to be forecasted.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. I am Mardia Hayati Abdurrahman. I will continue to the topic of SWOT analysis. There is a 10-step strategic planning process. Step 4 is to assess the organization's external and internal environments to identify SWOT. The purpose of Step 4 in the strategic planning process is to provide information on the organization's strengths and weaknesses in relation to the opportunities and challenges it faces. SWOT analysis is now defined as a strategic planning method used to research external and internal factors which affect company success and growth. So strength is ability and resources available. Weaknesses are determined through failures, defect, losses. Opportunities can define what comes within the ambit of an opportunity to focus on those areas. And challenges and threats arise from political, economic, social, and technological forces. We are familiar with T for threats because of the term threat is originated from military strategy. Using C as challenge or concern is recommended to create a more positive attitude. The importance and rationale of SWOT. First, to identify those supports, strengths that are available to implement strategies and possible future tactics. Second, to identify those weaknesses which can or should be corrected or minimized in order to achieve the ideal vision. To identify the opportunities that exist which are not currently or have not been previously utilized, and discovers the challenges to achieving the ideal vision that exists and which can be avoided, or for which tactics can be developed to diminish the negative impact. An effective external and internal environmental assessment should provide several benefits to the organization. Among the most important is that it will produce information that is vital to the organization's survival and prosperity. Here is the important assessment that should be analyzed. First, external environment assessment. There are three categories. First, forces and trends, key resources, controllers, and competitors, collaborators. These three categories represent the basics of any effective environmental scanning system. The second is internal environmental assessment. The three major categories that should be assessed are the basic elements of a simple model. First, resources or input. Second, present, strategy or process. And the third one is performance or outputs. Then they are analyzed and assessed through SWOT. Here are some useful techniques for helping organizations assess SWOT. First, the organization highs, lows, and teams exercise, and the second one, the snowcat technique. From these techniques, the organization may wish to review its mission and mandates, stakeholder analyze, existing goal statements, cultural audits, relevant survey results, and other information related, and also consider using the snowcat technique with the strategic planning team to develop a list of SWOT and look for patterns, important actions that might be taken immediately, and implications for the identification of strategic issues. In addition to the PESTEL, public and non-profit organizations might monitor important stakeholder groups, especially actual or potential clients. Forces and trends are usually broken down into PESTEL: social and organizational complexity, privatization and increased interaction among public, private, and non-profit sectors, continuation of technological change, limited public sector resources and growth, diversity of the workforce, customer base, and citizenry, individualism, personal responsibility, and civic republicanism, quality of life and environmentalism, and lastly, transition with continuity, not revolution. As a summary, Step 4 explores the organization's external and internal environments in order to identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges the organization faces. Organizations should consider institutionalizing their capability to perform periodic SWOT analysis. If they do, they will need to establish an external scanning operation, develop a good MIS system, and undertake regular strategic planning exercises.
Thank you, Sister Miss Lina. I'm Nurul Akmal Baharuddin, will present under the topic Other Methods of Analysis, focus on force field analysis, quality standard and quality audit, and scenario analysis. The force field analysis was created by social psychologist called Lewin in 1940s. The force field analysis is a basic tool for root cause analysis that can help to take action once the root cause has been identified. The tool is useful for making decisions by analyzing the force for, against, and chance, and for communicating the reasoning behind decision. The technique based on assumption and against the current state being in equilibrium as shown in Figure 1. Here is Lewin's force field analysis tool and how to use that tools. And here is the example of force field analysis in school management. Next, we look at the advantages of the force field analysis include it provides a clear analysis for a decision to make. It identifies the negative force that should be removed to ensure successful implementation of the chance. It is a fair analysis and allows everyone to list their pros and cons, and it can be used as a group or individual. But there are some limitations of the model, including the subjective nature of the scoring. Some decisions are complicated and can break the framework. It relies on all the information being captured in the analysis, and it can take time to making decisions. We jump to quality standards and quality audit. Quality standards are defined as documents that provide requirements, specifications, guidelines, and characteristics that can be used consistently to ensure that materials, products, processes, and services are fit for their purpose. Quality standards benefits: increase customer satisfaction, improve product and production safety, ensure of regulatory compliance, reduce errors and recalls, support of globalist marketplace, competitive advantage over uncertified companies. Here is the ASQ, or American Society for Quality, the topic and the standard.
Recognizing the importance of quality education for all, ISO has developed ISO 21001 Educational Organization Management System or EOMS, the first ever management system standard on education. It is aimed at improving the processes and quality of educational institutions to address the needs and expectations of those who use their service. And why ISO is important in education? It recognizes the fundamental contribution that educational institutions, and especially universities, can give the standardization in terms of teaching what can be achieved through standards. Next is quality audit. Quality auditing is the systematic examination of an organization's quality management system or QMS. A quality audit is typically carried out by an internal or external quality auditor or audit team. It is a key component of the ISO 9001 quality system standard. The American Society of Quality identifies three types of audit. First, a process audit. Second, product audit. And a system audit. The purpose of a quality audit is to assess or examine a product, the processes used to produce a particular product or line of products, or the system supporting the product to be produced. Next, scenario analysis. Most authors attribute the introductions of scenario planning to Herman Hunt through his work for the U.S. military in the 1950s at the RAND Corporation, where he developed a technique of describing the future in the stories as if written by people in the future. Scenario analysis is a process of examining and evaluating possible events or scenarios that could take place in the future and predicting the various possible results or possible outcomes. In educational scenario constitutes a structured plan which describes the educational process of a course and aims to guide teachers during this process. Scenario analysis generally considers at least three types of scenario. They are base case scenario, worst case scenario, and best case scenario. The benefit of scenario analysis are to manage risk more proactively by assessing the impact of potential future events and situations, make better decisions by investigating the risks and benefits of different options, and to analyzing the future and spot opportunity or risks that might otherwise be overlooked. The challenges of scenario analysis. Scenario analysis can be a time-consuming process that requires specific skills and expertise. Although modeling tools can help, it can be difficult to envision all possible scenarios, to make realistic assumptions and assign possibility to them. Here is the 6 steps to perform a scenario analysis. First, have to define the issues, getting data and identify key factors. Third, develop a scenario planning templates, develop scenarios, evaluate the scenarios, and plan accordingly. And the last is the example of scenario analysis in education.
As a conclusion, strategic analysis enables an organization to assess the initial situation, evaluate the situation inside and outside of the organization, and reveal the factors that will cause changes in the environment. If within strategic decision-making, an organization wants to prepare a decision that will be timely and effective in the future, it should be based on anticipation of changes in the environment. Leaders learn about the conditions that the organization will have to operate in by doing strategic analysis, using strategic analysis tools such as situational and environmental analysis, pastel analysis, SWOT analysis, and understanding those conditions is required to develop the plans and actions that will lead to success. Besides that, other methods or tools for analysis also could be used depending on the situations and needs that arise. Other methods for analysis are force field analysis, quality standards and quality audits, and lastly, scenario analysis. The strategic analysis produces information that managers need to develop appropriate strategies for their organization. A good strategy should use the organization's resources and capabilities to stake out a position in its marketplace or field that sets it apart from competitors and enables it to compete in the external environment successfully. These are our references. That's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.